Hello, everyone. Welcome to another week of Masterfully Integrated. I'm here with Amelie. I'm Janine. We're with Systematic Excellence Consulting, and it's 10:30 in the morning going forward, 10:30 Central, 11:30 Eastern going forward. This is the time we'll be starting. So if you're catching us live, please put hashtag live. If you're catching the replay, hashtag replay, and we'll go ahead and get rolling. So this week for our podcast, we were talking about the definitions or the different interpretations people have of the roles from the spectrum of VA, project manager, OBM, integrator, director of operations, and anyway, the definitions behind them. But we wanted to dig in a little further today about people who are in those roles, and over time as the company grows, how that role can change and expand. And that's why we found with those definitions, it's like they really fall along a spectrum for a lot of people as they go. And so in the practical application of this, what is it like for that person? What is it like for the person who their role is expanding and they might feel uncomfortable about that or be looking for further training or to fill in knowledge gaps they feel that they have? And also for people who there are people who are not comfortable with that and so they're not sure how to deal with. So what do you do as the needs expand, but the person's comfort level or their skill set does not?
Right. So just so the link to listen to the full podcast about building a team without job titles is in the comments, and I'll also put it in, it's in the description. I'll also put it in the comments. But why don't we start by talking about if you're the person, the CEO or the person that's in charge of a team, and you have someone that you've moved into a new role and you're sensing that they're maybe hesitant to fill it, or they're not sure, taking on that new responsibility. Let's address that first, and then we can address the person that's in the position that's taking on new responsibility and if they're feeling hesitant.
Yeah, and there's two ways this most often happens. It's like typically it's taking someone who's been in a support role like a VA or an assistant, and then they're growing into more management roles, but there's a more smoother segue as the company's growing. The other one that can be very abrupt for the person is someone who has a specific skill set, whether they're a developer or a designer, and then the team grows. Then you take that person who's been doing really well at their skill set, and you're like, okay, now you're in charge of the team. And managing people is an entirely different skill set that can really throw them.
Right. And so if you notice, maybe what you'll notice with someone that you've given them a new role with more responsibility is they're hesitant to, maybe they're still treating it like tasking versus delegating, right? So if you transition from tasking where you tell them what to do, they come back to you, you tell them what to do, they come back to you, and you keep doing this back and forth, but then you try to move to delegating, but they're still in the habit of coming to you and saying, okay, well, what's next? And you notice that they're not just taking on the role and doing it on their own, then I would say that sitting down and having a conversation and making sure that you clearly set the expectations of what you're looking for. Listen, I understand this is a new role for you. Here's my expectations. If you have questions or concerns, feel free to reach out. But this is really, I want you to take responsibility for these things and really take this on. And, just setting that up and letting them know that you understand, they're human, it's new, they'll probably fail at some point, and just acknowledging that up front kind of alleviates the pressure of like, oh my gosh, what if I, F this up, And so I think that helps to do that. And also recognizing what courses or support you can get them. Even hiring a coach or something for them if they're moving into a project management role and they've not necessarily had that experience, but having someone getting them help, a course, anything like that to support them in that, I think would be helpful, especially if they're an employee. I think that is definitely the responsibility of the CEO to provide that training for them.
Yeah, especially when they're going from the task to delegate that first time. I'd really like to speak to the neuropsychology behind what's going on. It's like they literally, that's their habit and that's their mode of thinking
Right.
is task oriented. So sometimes the transition is a little easier if you literally task them with tasking someone else. And so their tasks become the habit that you want them to build in that new way of thinking. And it's a way to
Right.
transition them that works with how they're accustomed to doing things.
Right. And also giving them the space to fail. Like saying it's one thing, but actually giving them the space to fail and understanding that, you know what, it's, you know, recently we brought on a new team member to help us with one of our processes. And the first two times are a little rough, but by the third, you know, she was fine. But we understood, like, you know, we told her it's okay if it takes you 3 hours to do this. We understand that the first couple of times it's going to take longer than usual. And actually giving them the time to fail and say, you know, it's okay. And but then, you know, you then have to hit a point where, okay, now you understand. Now the bar is set higher because now you know the process, and also making sure that you have all the things in place to make it easier for them to execute whatever this task is, or whatever, not task, but a job or project. You know, if they're moving into project management, making sure they understand what that role looks like and redefining their roles and responsibilities. That's something we talked on the podcast about, is forget the job titles, like just let that person know what their roles and responsibilities are. And if it's changing from one thing to another, or their list of responsibilities is getting longer, making sure that they understand it's going to take longer, and that you understand it's going to take longer. You don't expect them to do the, you know, a different job in the same amount of time that they were doing something else, right? Like setting all of those expectations, I think, are so important.
And what this looks like so what Amelie did in this particular instance was, it's like there was a deadline involved, but she allowed for more time for that when tasking the person. And also Amelie adjusted her schedule for that, her work schedule around, I know I'm going to make myself immediately available for this person to be able to ask me the questions, and that way it wasn't disruptive to your day, to Amelie's day, your day, and your flow.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's the thing that people don't see. I mean, we talk about understanding, but what does that really, really mean for you? You know,
Yeah.
And that's what it looks like.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that us as leaders expressing our confidence in the person that they can do the job helps too. I know it helps me. I mean, just between you and I, like when you express your confidence in me to, you know, do well on a sales call, or do well in creating a product for our business, like that makes me feel even more confident. Or like my confidence in you, like recently Janine updated our website and it looks fantastic, but I'm sure by me expressing that, like, I thought you did a great job, or I knew that you could do it, or whatever, you know, made you just feel like, okay, well, yeah, I can, you know, it makes you feel more confident when you know that the person you're working with believes in you and that you can do it. And so, you know, letting our team members know that even though this might be something that's different than they've done before, but giving them the confidence to know that we believe in them.
And you'll see clues for that. I mean, I know, like with the website, on the one hand, it's like I've done it before and I have this vision in mind, but at the other side, it's like as partners, it's like, I really hope Amelie likes this. You know, it's like, I hope you know, that it meets your vision too, because it's ours. It's not, you know, just my project or something like that. But as far as the team members go, the thing that I see the most that really raises that flag is when somebody's new and you get I hope I'm not asking too many questions, or I hope you don't mind if I'm that little apology before the thing that they need. And my answer to them is like, I make a point to explicitly say, it's my job to set you up for success.
Right.
I need you to ask me these questions. Keep asking them. But I tell
well, maybe
like,
not after 3 months, but no, I'm just kidding.
Well, right, yeah, there is a time limit, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You better go back and check your messages in Slack from the first month. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No,
okay, so let's talk about someone that's in a position where they've you know, they were hired for the first time as a project manager, and maybe they're feeling, but the person knows, they were explicit about the fact that it's their first time, but they're feeling not very confident. And the person that hired them, their client, maybe doesn't recognize that. And so they don't want to necessarily make the client not feel confident in them. And if the client isn't expressing that they're confident in them, obviously there is a level of confidence since they hired them. But what should someone do in the position where maybe they're feeling a little uncertain or a little nervous about taking on a bigger role? What are some things that you would recommend for them to do?
Well, when they're taking on a big role, that's specifically making an appointment for a call about the expectations. Like, and before they even get on that, it's like, get all the questions that you have in your head and write them down.
Yeah.
Frame out what you think is going to happen. And anywhere there are gaps, those are the questions you should be asking. And just bear in mind that the reality is, if you put the thought in advance and you're asking the questions is what makes you super genius. It really does. The person who owns the project and wants the outcome, they want to be asked questions. They want to know that you've thought about it. They want to know you're on their team and involved in everything else. And they're happy to clarify because they know that's going to get them the outcome they want or better.
And they might not think of something that they need to tell you about the project, but if you come with the questions and then opening it up and making sure you say, so if I have any further questions, how do you want me to approach you? Or like, how would you like me to let you know if I have more questions, right? So they understand that you're there to, to work with them. Another thing I would recommend is, getting outside support. So something that Janine and I do, we have a program, our Masterfully integrated program, where we provide on the job, like in the moment, problem solving support via Voxer and Slack to some of our clients where, and our clients aren't necessarily the ones where we're placing project managers, but our clients in this instance are project managers or, VAs that are moving into a project manager role. And what we do is we provide that problem solving support. Okay, I have this, I'm not sure what to do with this, but we have this going on. What should I do? And then we can provide that real time, answering questions, providing suggestions or solutions, that kind of thing. So not necessarily to say that it has to be with us, but finding a relationship like that, or a coach or a mentor where you can do that, have that sort of outside perspective. I know that for the people that we've done it with, it's been really helpful, just to help them deal with some of the client situations. Because when you are the person managing the projects and the people, the client is relying very much on you to have your shit together and find solutions. And if you're new, you might not have the experience or, be able to think outside the box and like, okay, well, how can I handle this? And so having someone that is outside the situation but fully invested in you, I think is so important, and can really help you succeed in a new position.
Yep. And the type or size of a project that requires a project manager is complex enough that why Amelie is speaking to problem solving is like, it's dynamic. There's some flow to it. You're not just putting pieces of a puzzle together that are all laid out on a table. Some of those puzzles other people have and they may run off. Some of them haven't been made yet and some of them are made wrong. And it's a fluid situation, but you're the one who's supposed to keep it all reined into the framework and the time frame and the budget and everything else. But it is fluid, and problem solving is absolutely part of the job.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if we'll speak to both. So if you have a team and you have someone that's newly in a management role, or if you're moving into a management role and you're taking on for the first time and you're looking for some support, feel free to reach out. I will put the link to book a 15-minute call with us to see if it's a good fit, if it's something that you would be interested in having that kind of support and mentorship. You can book that call. If you're the CEO and you have someone, you can either book the call or you can have the person that you would like to get more information about the program. You can have them book the call. You can delegate it out. And we'll put the link for that as well. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add to that? Make sure you listen to episode 22. I think it was really great. Janine and I worked through our own kind of how we wanted to run our team. And so we just recorded ourselves having that conversation and how we process things. And I think the the conclusion that we came to is that it's important not to put people into these like job title boundaries or buckets, but really just spell out the roles and responsibilities. What are they responsible for? Who cares what their title is? Just give them what they have to get done, and go from there. So did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
Nope, I think that rounded it up really well.
Okay, awesome. So again, thanks for joining us today. If you catch the replay, give us a hashtag replay. Feel free to ask any questions. Make sure you check out the podcast episode, and we'll put the link to book a discovery call in the comments. And again, we will be back here next week on Friday, but we'll be at 10:30 Central, 11:30 Eastern. And we hope to catch you next week. Have a great weekend.
Have a good one.
Bye.